Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new, if you are a recent subscriber, welcome. Hit the notification bell so that you won't miss any more of my future videos. So this video, I've already uploaded two for you guys today, so don't be confused because obviously I'm wearing the same outfit, the same attire, the same everything. By the way, shameless plug, these are handmade, part of what I do. Kind of as a hobby, but I'm also going to be doing that for making money. Anyways, I digress. So this video is really going to be about my opportunity to rid myself of debt. Specifically the $38,157 worth of debt that I explained to you in my September check-in in part one. So let me go back just a little bit to give you a little bit of history. June of 2017, I graduated from college with my master's degree in Master's of Business Administration, and I did two concentrations, one in finance and one in entrepreneurship. I always want to say entrepreneurial. Anyways, so I finished that program in June. My graduation was in July. I was working for Veteran Affairs, the Department of Veterans Affairs, or the VA, which you often hear people say. And if you know anything about the VA system, you know that it's set up where you don't just apply and get a merit promotion. You have to apply for a position that fits within your grade. So basically, I was a GS, which is a general salary, 6. I started at a 5. I worked my way up to a 6, but then I wanted to go on to another position in finance, of course, because that is what I was focusing on with my degree. And I thought that it would have helped propel me towards that direction. And so I set out to apply for positions within the VA in financial management services. Now, what I would have had to apply for was either another GS6, which would have been the same GS salary that I was currently on, and that would have been a lateral move, or I would have had to apply for a GS7 or a GS8. Basically, you are entitled to apply for positions 2 grade levels above what you currently are. So since I was a 6, again, I was able to apply for a 7 or an 8. Now, sorry, it's kind of warm in here, and I turned the fan off because I was hoping for you guys to be able to hear me better. In my particular situation, the positions that I wanted were mostly GS6s, which wasn't the problem. I was willing to move into those opportunities and grow. And I did apply for several of them, both in the current state I was living in and the state or other states that I was not living in. Unfortunately, none of those applications and positions worked out for me. So as a result of going through all of that, not being able to get a better paying position, I also went through a divorce last year. I had been separated for 5 years prior to the divorce, and the divorce paperwork was filed at the beginning of the year. It was finalized in August of 2017. Now, obviously, if I went through a divorce, I lost the financial support of my ex-husband. There were no children between the two of us that had to provide for. And basically, when we separated, we didn't separate on purpose. I didn't separate from him on purpose. Let me say it that way. Anyways, we were separated for 5 years, and during that 5-year period, I had been trying to make my life work because I loved living where I was living, and I just wanted to give it my best shot. In the midst of that, I took on payday loans, I took on personal loans, I had more credit card debt, I had a car payment, and then there was rent, food, gasoline, all the basic necessities that one needs to survive. And me not being able to get a better paying job was a problem. I set out to get a second job, could not land a second job for some strange reason. And I find that disappointing. Nevertheless, I had to move forward, and so the only thing right before I made the decision I made, which I'm going to tell you about in a few minutes, I was able to take on independent contracting work. In addition to working for the VA, I took on the Uber Eats food delivery position. Again, that's independent contracting. Unfortunately, it wasn't lucrative enough. And I think that was because I couldn't put in the necessary hours I needed to put in to make it work for me. I didn't have the proper setup to do Uber driver partner, so I did the food delivery partner side of Uber. So, as a result of everything I just said to you, things just got really, really, really overwhelming. I had taken on a studio apartment, my last place that I lived in that state. I took on um, a studio apartment for $1,650, which I thought I was going to have more financial assistance, and it didn't work out to my advantage. And 4 months into taking that a studio apartment, it got to be very, 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 very stressful. I had been trying to make up my mind to come back to my parents' house for a while. It was a very, very tough decision because I just didn't, number one, didn't want to be in the same state that I was in before, which is where they live now. And I just hate living in this state. It's not my favorite state at all. And I don't like living in the States, so I didn't want to come back. However, I was at the time when I first began to contemplate this move, I was living in a room and I was looking for a position with the VA system in this state that I am now temporarily set up in so that I could transfer and still keep, decent money to come back, can work, and so forth and so on. I interviewed for a position that was in financial management services, and it was a very, very, very good interview. I wasn't selected for the position, unfortunately. And I don't know, I believe someone mentioned it was due to budget cuts and so forth and so on. So I'm not even sure who got the position, if anyone got it at all. I just know that I didn't get it. And so I kept pushing forward and I kept thinking, okay, I'll try something different. And so I took, like I said, I took the other apartment and thinking that things would get better, things would look up, and they did not. So in May of 2018 is when I really had to make a decision. I had to make a very big decision, and it was a painful decision on top of everything else I had been through because I was now $2,000 behind on my car payment. I was barely able to get the rent money together, and it was tough. It was tough. And so I had several conversations with my mom already. And I finally just talked to her this final time. I talked to my godmother. And I used some godly wisdom and said, okay, because I had already realized that I can't continue to live this way if I want to grow and move on and make my life better. This just isn't going to work. I have to do something different in order to get something different. And my pastor teaches on that all the time. So I decided to make the decision to come back to my parents' house. My mom talked to my stepdad and they agreed together that it was okay for me to return. My request was for 1 year and to not have to pay rent for that time so that I could try and get out of debt, or as much as that $38,157 worth of debt that I told you about in the other video. I wanted to get out of that. And hopefully I still have a chance to do that within the time frame that I asked for. So with that being said, I made the decision to come back. On top of that, I wasn't going to have a job because it was taking so long for me to get something. And I was in a place where I could no longer decide to stay there and struggle to pay the bills and be behind on my car and possibly having my car repossessed. I needed to do something. So when I spoke to my mom about it, she told, like I said, she told my stepdad. They agreed. And it worked out in the timing that it worked out as well, because they needed some help here too. They are doing several things and working on several things in the house. One is to sell it, two, um, health and well being. And so I'm here helping them and they're helping me. And so that's kind of what it is. Um, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so what happened after that is I made the decision. I gave my 2 week notice to give up my previous position. I had been off for 7 years. And again, that was a tough decision, and I made the choice. Figuring when I got back to the state my parents live in, I would find a job within maybe 60 days. And that has not happened, but I haven't given up. So basically, what I ended up doing is finding work part time as an independent contractor, which is for a family member who owns his own business. And so he hired me to work with him. And it's not a lot of money, but I am grateful for the opportunity because something is better than nothing. And so that income allows me $600 a month, along with me having other ideas and searching for work at home positions and wanting to start my monthly subscription box, excuse me, as well as continue with making my fashion jewelry, which I already did a shameless plug on. Um, I have been making this for quite a while. My mom got me into the habit of it, and I've been enjoying it ever since. And I had set a goal to use it for my business that I already have set up, which is wedding and event planning. And again, I haven't done much with that. I'm trying to revamp it, relaunch it, and get it going. And along with the subscription box, and still be able to do my fashion jewelry. So the point of the story is, although it was very hard to make a decision on what to do, I had to do what was realistic by this point. As I stated, I had a lot of debt, still have a lot of debt. The one accomplishment I've made thus far is, as I told you in part one of the September check-in, is that I paid off my car and it now belongs to me. I have the title of it. So there's nobody that can call me now and say, oh, I'm coming to get your car. And I worked hard to get that car paid for, although I did take a settlement, but it was the best thing I could do with the small amount of income that I have coming in, so I could try to leverage being able to pay some of the other bills. Um, and so that's where it's at. But the moral of the story and the grace in the story is I had an outlet. It wasn't one that I necessarily wanted to take, but at the end of the day, I feel that it was God's way of letting me know He's heard my prayer. He's heard the prayers of others praying for me. He is having my best interest at heart, knowing how overwhelmed I was with getting the divorce finalized, figuring out how to pay the bills. And although I still don't have everything that I would like to have in the way that I'd like to have it, I am grateful for my parents, for them giving me an opportunity to do what I'm doing. Because the truth of the matter is, I watched a ton of videos on how to minimize, how to downsize, how to change, so that you can have better financial leverage. And that was on top of, excuse me, that was on top of all of the tips and tricks I had learned along the way in life of being a wife at one time and running a household and trying to help my ex-husband run a business and working full-time and going to school and juggling so many different things. So at the end of the day, I ended up making a choice that wasn't the one I really would have preferred, but all the other choices I had taken did not work out. They didn't give me the lasting results that I was hoping for. They didn't clear me of my debt. In fact, I got into more debt, and that's not a good thing. So I'm working from a better angle, I feel. And although I don't have that full time job that I'd like to have, it's not hopeless, because I still am in a position where I don't have to worry about paying for rent right now. I eventually will have to do that again, and pay a mortgage, because I do plan to buy a home one day. But have to, I had to step back so that I can try to figure out how to move forward. And this is the way that I had to do it. So I am grateful to God for every single person He has put into my life to push me in one direction or another, because without those experiences, I probably might not have learned anything. And I've learned a great deal in the last year. I have grown spiritually, I've grown physically, and I've grown mentally. Um, and when I say physically, I mean my I don't mean I've grown in weight or anything like that in my physique, like in that sense. I mean I've grown physically in my mindset, if that makes sense. It's probably more of a mental state of growth, but I've grown, I guess, physically in the sense that I've learned to minimize and appreciate the use of what I have on hand. And I literally did that when I moved back into this house. I am in a spare bedroom in my parents' house that already had a decent setup. It was just that it had a twin bed in here that I'm a little too old and big to be sleeping in a twin bed. So I did change out the twin bed to a full size bed. And um, when I got here, I utilized my mom's vanity set she had in here, because as you can see, I like having my makeup, and I brought that with me. Um, I have, which you can't see it now, but I showed it in a video of a little setup that I did today, showing you the nightstand. And so, like I said, I'm grateful, because although I had to come back home for a while, I still have a chance to make things right. I still have a chance to find some peace and some freedom financially. And it won't be the full six figures that I have on my plate that I probably will be able to pay off in the year's time frame that I requested, but hopefully I will be able to at least get out of that nearly $40,000 debt that I have. And if I can tackle more, certainly I will by all means do that. I honestly had contemplated filing bankruptcy, but I didn't want to do that because my ex-husband and I filed bankruptcy, and we were living in a community property state. So when he filed, I had no choice but to file. And so I've already gotten my name put onto that list once, and I'm trying not to go that route a second time. And this is the reason. And even if I did, I can't incorporate my student loans into that. I can't incorporate the taxes into that I owe to the federal government for the business, having it as an LLC, and as well as, any state and federal taxes I owe back to the government for not having enough taken out of my paycheck last year. I can't incorporate those things into the bankruptcy. So for that reason, I am still hopeful that I don't have to take that route. I just kind of keep it in the back of my head that it is an option if I just get to the point where I just have no choice. I like I said, what it would do is it would clear off my medical, it would clear off my um, credit cards, but it's not going to do anything for those other amounts. And my student loans are six figures. That is the biggest portion of my debt. So I'm trying to just figure out how I can leverage everything and get out of the debt circle that I partially got myself into, but life happened and the other part is there. So I'm not blaming. I'm not looking for a pity party or any of that sorts. I'm just trying to figure out and stay strong and focus in on God on how to get out of the situation that I am in at this time. So that is the grace story for you all today. And I hope that you enjoyed what I've shared. I hope that you will rate, comment, subscribe, and share it with others. There's always someone that could utilize our help and encouragement. And so that is what my channel is a portion of. That's a portion of my purpose, is to be able to encourage other people in any way that I can. It was something I set in my heart a long time ago, way back when my father passed away. I made a vow that if I could put a smile on someone's face every single day, that I'd be happy. And I've kept that motto. I've gone through so many different positions and patient care and so forth and so on with that motto, but I'm trying to step it up a notch where I can do that for the kingdom of God now as a Christian and as a daughter of the Most High God. I feel that I can help someone. And I feel that everyone can help someone. We all have something to offer. Sometimes we don't believe it. Sometimes we don't understand it. Sometimes we don't know what that thing is to offer. But you would be surprised if you just start talking to people or just listening to people. You would realize, hey, I can help this person some kind of way. And then you pray about it and you ask God to steer your heart the right way so that you're not sowing and incorrectly, and so that you are in seeking God's word, rightfully dividing the word of truth. So anyways, like I said, that's my Grace Time story for you all. I hope you enjoyed it. Rate, comment, subscribe, leave questions and comments, feedback, advice, share with others down below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and the notification bell, so that hopefully you will be in tune when I make the next video or next series of videos. I have lately been uploading 2 or 3 on the same day or around the same time, because I've not yet come up with a consistent plan and format for this whole channel, but I'm working on that. I want you to know it. I'm working on it, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Have a good evening, good night, good morning, whatever time of day it is you're watching this, and blessings to you all. Bye for now.